Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli, and I'm excited to be back in the studio today, this Sunday afternoon, this rainy, lazy Sunday afternoon. But I have a wonderful guest with me today, Kris Davis. Kris, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, we met, several weeks ago, and it was at the Macon Arts Alliance, and I saw some of your work down there, and we were introduced to each other by a mutual friend, and we started a little conversation, and I wanted to try to get you on the podcast, and here we are today. We have tried to do this for the last month or so due to health issues, not able to do that, and but I'm grateful that we're here today. So, where does your artist story begin?
Oh, I guess I can give you a little abbreviated life story.
Okay.
Okay, so I was born in Tennessee and I moved around a lot as a kid. Probably went to 13 different schools.
What part of Tennessee were you from?
This little town called Colmont, and I don't really remember it.
Okay.
Most of my childhood was kind of moving around Georgia and then the Atlanta area. Um, but one thing that I always took with me is I always enjoyed doing creative things, making things, painting, drawing. Anytime there was an art class to sign up for, that was always my first choice. And then when I went to college, I didn't have that many choices. My father works for Emory University, and well, he's retired now, but so at the time, if you were the child of someone who worked there, you get a tuition waiver. So my dad was like, "Hi, that's where you need to go."
There you go.
And so I went to Oxford. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's out in Covington. It's like a 2-year part of Emory. And it's a great school, but it didn't have any art. There were no art choices. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went there for 2 years, and then I transferred to Emory, the main campus, and took some classes there. And that art bug was really, 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 I wanted to do something with art. So I transferred out of Emory and I went to Georgia State because they have a pretty good art program there. And so I studied art there for probably about a year. And then I started to think, how am I going to make a living? Everybody throws around starving artist. And so I changed my major, and after a lot of major changes, I ended up with a degree in education.
Okay.
So I became a elementary school teacher, and my husband, when I graduated, we both moved up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, because he was going to go ahead and get his PhD there, and I just followed him and taught while he worked on that. So I started teaching there, and we had our first child. And I wanted to continue to paint, so I signed up for the only class that fit my schedule was on a Saturday. Wanted to get a little me time and do some painting. The only thing that they had offered was pastels. So I learned how to paint with pastel. And at the time, I was really fascinated with Georgia O'Keeffe. She's one of my favorite artists. And so I began to create these very kind of Georgia O'Keeffe-ish large floral portraits. And it was very representational. And I did that for a long time. That's kind of what I was known for a while. So I did that, and I taught, and I entered shows for fun. And then my second child came along 3 years later, and it wasn't feasible to put 2 kids in daycare for a teacher's salary. So I stayed home. And I was like, well, I need to make some money. So I painted and sold my paintings online. But the floral pastels that I did, they are very detailed, and they take me a long, long time, like 80 hours or something to complete one. And that's not conducive to, making enough money to buy the groceries when the kids were little. So I pivoted to abstracts. Because I could create them faster. And that's what I sold. I sold abstracts online. But it was it's different from the way that I do abstracts now, because like I had to make money from them. There was an intense pressure. I've got to sell these. And so my design choices were based on like what's selling. You know, I don't think I was really searching for my artistic voice at that time.
Right.
And frankly, it burned me out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I made hundreds of paintings and shipped them all out. And so fast forward a little bit, my kids are old enough to go back to school and I went back to teaching, right? So we moved to Macon in 2008 and I started working on my floral pastel pieces again in my free time. I was teaching here in Macon. I've taught at Springdale and I taught at Alex too. And so while I was teaching, I continued to make my florals. And then, let's see, about 2016, I decided, it's funny, I make all these career choices so I can have more time to paint, right? So in 2014, I decided that I wanted to leave teaching because believe it or not, if you're not really familiar with the teaching profession, you might think that teachers have a lot of time. Oh, no, I was always exhausted. I was bringing my papers home to grade. I was lesson planning, and I just didn't have a whole lot of time left to, you know, devote time to my art. So I changed careers. I went back to school and I got my nursing degree, which actually gave me a lot more time because when I was done, I was done. There was no bringing homework, you know, home from
Gotcha.
being a nurse. So I did that. And in 2018, I decided to really start looking for my creative voice. But this time, like, I don't have the pressure of I've got to sell this painting. So I wasn't trying to please anybody, but try to figure out who I am as an artist. So I kind of pivoted to abstract again. And the thing that really draws me to abstract is the creative problem solving. Because after a while with my floral portraits, I felt like for me, after I found the image that I was going to paint and I did my composition, it almost felt like a lot of the creative part was over. And it was just, for me personally, it was getting tedious to do the representational work. And I wanted to do some more creative problem solving. So I moved into abstract painting. And continued that for a while. And then I don't know if you remember when the bicentennial came up for making, there was a call for art. And I thought it would be really interesting. They were looking for, you know, like I said, making theme. I think one of the shows was about place, a sense of place. And so I thought it would be really interesting to try to come up with an abstract painting based on Macon. And that's the one that's behind me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this was
how big is that painting?
It's 4 foot by 4 foot. Okay. And so this painting behind me, it's called Convergence Points. And I used the shape of Macon, like if you were looking on a map, as the composition. And the title Convergence Points, it refers to the railroad, the highway, and the river and where they converge. And throughout this painting, they're layered like maps of Macon, things like this. So this was my first Macon piece. And then I got a solo show at Macon Arts Alliance. And my plan for that show was to create a whole body of work centered around Macon. So the name of that show, it was fall 2024, and the name of the show was Macon Traces. And so I've got paintings, you know, from all different parts of Macon, from Park, from Roseville Cemetery, Capricorn Music, Allman Brothers. I did several about the architecture downtown. And I explored that for a while. So I had a pretty good sized body of work, Macon themed art. And I have my process for making these paintings, you know, I've really been in pursuit of like my vision and my process and my voice as an artist. I really like to think in layers with my art. When I was a teacher, I taught the kids how to read. And for reading comprehension, one of the big ideas that I like to teach them is that everybody has a schema. It's unique to everyone. It's like your own personal filter. It's every memory you have, every experience, everything you see, and it affects how you perceive the world.
That's
And
right.
so my process is kind of a metaphor for that, because I layer into my work lots and lots of layers. And from the first mark to the last mark, every single thing on that canvas contributes to the finished product. And so I kind of use that with the different themes that I've explored in the past. So I spent a lot of time with the Macon series. Another thing that I'm really fascinated with, that I kind of weave in and out between my series, I always come back to it, is there's this museum that I went to. We flew out in 2016. We flew out to Las Vegas. We were going to take our kids to see all the national parks out there. And we're not really big, like gamblers or partiers or anything. So we're kind of big old dorks. And we were like, oh, what museums are in Las Vegas?
Right.
So there's this really cool museum called the Neon Boneyard Museum. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love history. I wanted to be like an anthropologist, archaeologist when I was young, So this museum is really fascinating. It's like all the old neon signs. I think they go back like
wow.
from Las Vegas. This is like where they go. They retire them here.
Their graveyard. Yeah.
They span decades, and they're all different colors and textures. And
I would love to see that.
They've got them all layered against each other, and they're all eroded from the weather. And I took lots and lots of pictures. It's just really, really fascinating to me. And so I have painted several pieces that were inspired by that.
A lot of history there.
Yeah, I loved it. It's great. And I come back to it when I'm kind of stuck. I'm like, well, what else can I paint about? I'll come back to that. And I did a short little series last summer on like my garden, just because it brings me joy. So I did like eggplant painting and greens, and that was really fun. But anyway, that's kind of my artistic journey. I'm trying to think if I left anything out. So right now, I spend a lot of time in my studio painting, and I am also a nurse. I work at home. Reviewing charts, and fortunately it's something that I love, so I don't feel like I don't have anything left to to pursue my art. It's really been great.
So is your studio there at your house?
It is. I had to wait a while to get a good and proper studio, because I had to wait for my kids to move out. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing, but it's my older son's room. I converted it to my studio. So yes, now I have my studio in my house. So.
Yeah, I know how that is. We're empty nesters now, and I was in a garage for a while, and then the eldest moved out, and so I moved upstairs here, and I've been here ever since. But yeah, it's great to have your own place, your own studio, that you can kind of get away from everything and be creative.
And I have works in progress. I can leave them up. Whereas in the very beginning, I was painting in the kitchen, and I couldn't really leave that out. Not with the kids, So
yeah, you paint large. You do large paintings, don't you?
That's my preference. I have done some like minis. We'll see later in the slideshow. Those were like 8 by 8. Sometimes I'll do like a little set where I want to explore something all at one time. Those work really well for that, but my preference is to work large. I really like working large.
Yeah. You said earlier about you had created work and you had shipped it out. So had you had work in other galleries around?
In Macon, you mean?
Or just across the country?
So I'll rewind back. In North Carolina, I did a lot of juried shows. I did some solo shows. I did have gallery representation there at a gallery called Green Terra. I think they've closed now. That was a long time ago. And then I moved here, and I have some work at Macon Arts, and then I have some more work over at Okmulgee Arts, some of my older pieces. And I enter, I try to enter juried shows now and again, but I am trying to build up a body of work. My art goal for this year is I'm trying to build up a big enough body of work to maybe look at Atlanta for some commercial representation.
Right. Well, good luck with that. Yeah. Keep me posted on how that goes.
I
Yeah.
will.
I'd love to do a follow-up and
Rejection letters.
have you give us an update as to where things are. Yeah. Now, you talked about an artist earlier that kind of inspired you, O'Keefe. Are there
Mhm.
any other artists that you just draw a lot of inspiration from?
Okay, so the other like big name that I really like is Helen Frankenthaler.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite artists that really inspire me every day, to be honest, are living artists who work on Instagram, who I follow. And I thought about who my three favorite ones were. There's Tara Kelly Cruz. She does abstract work. I really like her sense of composition and color.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one. She goes by Bibby G on Instagram. Her last name is really hard to pronounce.
Okay.
But I think she's in California. She does this really cool thing where she collects like old billboard paper and old, like really large graphic things to work into her art, which is kind of cool because it's hard to find that kind of graphic element that large. And she does a lot of tutorials on her Instagram and shows some interesting ideas for mixed media. And then the other one that I really like, the other person, is Nicholas Wilton. He's an abstract artist, but he's also, I guess he calls himself a creativity coach, but he has a lot of inspirational things to say to all kinds of artists. He's great. I just discovered him a few months ago, and he inspires me a lot. He talks about like, the why you're painting, and
Right.
he gives tips too, but you should check him out. He's great.
I'll have to. Yeah. Yeah. What do you find most challenging in your art? Finding
Oh,
time?
I think I go through a challenging phase with everything that I do. There's the excitement. I've got the idea.
Right.
I get
Got
started.
the concept. Let's go.
Yeah, and the getting started part, those first layers are so liberating. You're like,
Because you do layers and texture and paper and stuff, and yeah.
and so I'm building up, and it gets really chaotic in the underneath, and then the challenge is to bring it back and to give it a good composition and to make sure it's saying what I want it to say. And so there's always this point, like maybe 60% of the way in, where it's like I'm stuck, and that happens every time. But then once I get over that, and then I know I'm headed towards the finish line, then it's exciting,
Well, how do you get over that stuck part?
I'll give my secret away. So what I usually do is I take some pictures of my painting, and I pull out my iPad, and I open up my Procreate, and I just keep working on design ideas with what I've already got until I get something that I like. And I usually go back and forth. Like I always start with putting collage and all those underneath layers. I start that process physically, and then when I get stuck, I take a picture and I work with it. And then if I don't get anywhere, I go back to the painting and I add more layers, and I just keep going back and forth until I get something that I really, really like. So it's really been helpful. The having that way to work on it digitally has been very helpful, because it has, then I'm not using up the 100-layer painting before I get something I like.
Right. And it's really a blessing that we have that technology today that allows you to do that. I mean, I'm an oil painter, and sometimes I get stuck, and I like the idea of taking a picture of it and just maybe bring it into a software application and saying, what can I do different with this? Could I change some colors? Could I maybe go ahead and change the composition where I'm at and maybe make it better? That you could do that with the software on your computer instead of wasting some time on the canvas or whatever. Yeah, I like that.
And it's great. I have my iPad, and then I have my little pencil tool that just it's really easy to do. That Procreate program is really fun to work with, but it just helps me get through some of the creative blocks. Another thing I'll do sometimes if I'm really not getting anywhere with both of those things, sometimes I'll go back in and collage some more, and that can help me get some better design ideas. So.
So you talked a little bit earlier about how you one of the first classes you had was with pastels. Do you do anything now with pastels?
Oh yes, I have a giant collection of. I don't do strictly pastel paintings with them anymore. So since I work in mixed media, it's just another tool that I can put into my painting. Not early on, but after years of working in pastel, I thought to myself, one of the like drawbacks of pastel is that once you finish your painting, have you worked in pastel before?
I have not.
Yeah. Once you finish your painting, it's like charcoal almost, in that if you touch it, it smudges it, right? So it has to be framed under glass. So I really liked the look of paintings on either cradled wood or on canvas. So I came up with a method of layering my pastels with another medium so that I could fix them on the canvas, and so I didn't have to frame them under glass.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so that was by the end of the pastel journey. That's what I was doing. So I've kind of transferred that knowledge into my mixed media pieces, so that when I've used pastel in them, I know how to go back and make sure that it doesn't get disturbed from the layers that come above it, and the marks are preserved.
Right.
So yeah.
I guess some of that might have been a little bit of trial and error to get you to that point.
It was.
The process.
It was.
Yeah. And that's true with different mediums too. There's a lot of trial and error and figuring out what works best, what doesn't work, for you. I've experienced that anyway, so.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess you have kind of a process of going about your art. You got the concept and you said, okay, now I've got how big do I want it to be? And then what kind of material do I have? And what if you have this idea that you just don't have the material that you need? What do you go out and just look for stuff, or do you have some things there in your studio that you might be able to pull in to use?
Well, I do have a pretty big collection of just stuff, but I'll give you an example with like what I'm currently working on. So, I use collage a lot in my work and as part of the mixed media process. And what I'm working on now is I'm really fascinated with material culture and how people live and how they used to live and the whole history aspect. When I went on my honeymoon many years ago, we went to England, and we were in a small city. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't London. It was one of the smaller cities.
Okay.
And we went to this museum of everyday life. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but they had things like old vacuum cleaners and old toilets and all that. And it was really fascinating to me. So I bring that fascination with secondhand, material culture, and I'm working, and that's kind of the idea that I'm working with for my next probably few series. And so I'm looking at materials that are in secondhand circulation and what their role is, how we perceive them. And I started with printed materials, so that's my first series, and that's the one that I'm on my third painting in that series. And so to answer your question about where do I get my materials, so on that one, it was really, really important to me to make sure that I got some good vintage materials to use. And lucky for me, right now, junk journaling is a big thing. And so it's been very easy for me if I don't have the materials in my own personal stash, which I actually had a bunch of stuff, old stuff I could use. But I just went.
You're not a hoarder, are you?
So it's that teacher thing. And, teachers keep everything. Oh,
comes out
in my classroom.
Yeah. I might need that one day. Yeah. I could use it.
So I just ordered on eBay. I think you can get on Facebook Marketplace. Like they'll put together a lot of just random vintage things. And so had like report cards from 1930 and old maps. And one of my prized possessions is this bound, it's harder to find these now. It's a bound 1956 bound Newsweek magazines. And I got it from 478 Creative. We went to this little workshop and made these. It was, I don't know, like a year and a half ago. We made these collage things, and then there was an artist talk, and then they let us each keep one of those. And I love it. I get so many good things out of this out of this bound collection of old magazines. I liked it so much that I went online and ordered a 1950s collection of National Geographics that were bound together. I used to have a whole bunch, and I got rid of them. I'm kicking myself for that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the ways that I find materials. I hear there's a place in Atlanta that might have some stuff like that called Scraplanta. I'm going to go check that out.
Oh, wow.
See what kind of goodies I can
Yeah.
find. Yeah, I like to work ephemera in there. And this particular series that I'm working on, it's really important to me that everything that I'm putting into the collage is well thought out and it belongs with whatever theme I'm working on. I did one on obsolescence was the theme of the first one. And then I did one on orientation and maps. And then that's the one I'm working on now. And the one before that, directions, like different old materials that their purpose was to give you some kind of directions. And it wasn't just as straightforward as, step by step, here are the instructions. I found some really cool things. Like I found these old little children's stories from like 1940s and 50s. They had a little cartoon, and it was like, oh, look what happened when little Johnny didn't wash his hands, to teach a lesson and give instruction.
Right.
Yeah, just all kinds of really interesting things. So yeah, I'm pretty resourceful. I usually can find
It
stuff.
sounds like it. Yeah. You're one of those people that hold on to things, and it's like, I might need that one day, or I could use it one day.
My husband crazy because he is not that way.
Really? Totally opposite, huh?
It's good I have a good studio where I can store my stuff.
And hide all that in your studio.
And a storage unit. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. You probably would need a off-site storage unit of some sort, or maybe in the backyard of, a shop or storage building or something to keep a lot of that stuff in, maybe.
Yeah. I just run a storage unit. I want to keep my art, safe, and so I make sure to use it under control.
Right.
But then I don't feel like, oh, where am I going to put all this art? I'm trying kind of to accumulate enough, like I said, to submit to a gallery. So
right. So you're working on a series. Are you planning on doing a show soon?
Hopefully, I don't have one booked, but I have some opportunities that I've seen come up that I want to apply for. I don't want to say them because then when I don't get them,
I understand. Don't jinx yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx myself.
Don't want to do that. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Yeah. I want to pull in some of your artwork so we can look at that and share that with our viewing audience and have you talk a little bit about it. Okay. All right. Tell us about these pieces here.
All right.
How big are they? What did you use in creating them? You used a lot of red colors on the left one. So what inspired you about that?
All right. So the one on the left is called American Flamingo. And that is one of my neon boneyard paintings. It's inspired by the Flamingo Casino. And
Vegas.
The Flamingo Casino sign. So, I've got the colors there. If you look closely, you'll see like a diamond shape in that painting. That's the shape of the sign, the flamingo sign, kind of abstracted. So that's, and there are pictures of that sign collaged in there. If you look closely, you can see them. And then the one on the right is part of my Making Traces series. And that one was inspired by Capricorn Records. It's called Capricorn Ascendant. Oh, I didn't tell you the size. Let me rewind back to the pink one.
Okay,
That one's 4 foot by 3 foot. So it's a pretty good size. And then the one next to it is also a pretty good size. It is 30 inches, 48 inches by 30 inches. Capricorn Ascendant is what that one's called. And it's about Capricorn records. So it's got a lot of images of Capricorn embedded within it. I kind of use the circular design, for like records. And then over there, if you look at the painting on the left side, you'll see some smaller red dots there. They're, I thought for fun, they're in the astrological Capricorn. That's the Capricorn sign.
Oh, wow.
From astrology. Yeah, I thought that would be kind of cool to echo.
Now, the one on the right, is that in Macon Arts Alliance?
It is.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still hanging up there. It was.
Yeah.
She's changing some works out. I actually just dropped off American Flamingo, so I don't know if she's going to hang on to Capricorn Ascendant or if how she's gonna switch them out. But
I thought that one looked familiar because when I met you, I remember seeing that one there at Macon Arts. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Cool.
One of my favorites. That one is hanging up downstairs in my dining room. It's one of my favorite paintings. So this is a very large painting. Well, it seems large to me, but it's a 4 foot by 6 foot painting on canvas, mixed media. And this is part of my Making Traces series. It's called Circle Game. And this one was inspired by that Circles in the Park sculpture on Coleman Hill. You know what I'm talking about? And so when we first moved here in 2008, like they just really started to push the whole revitalization effort. And that Circles in the Park was one of the revitalization. It's just part of that, making nicer, and including this beautiful public art. And I used to take my kids when they were little. I used to take them over there to look at the skull down the slide over there on Coleman Hill. And so this painting, it's inspired by that. If you look closely, you can see pictures of the sculpture and the College Hill symbol. But I wanted it really made me think of my kids' excitement, and so I wanted to use really vibrant colors and just have it make you feel when you looked at it. So yeah, that's Circle Game is the name of this one.
Yeah, I like this one. It might be one of my favorites because of all the different colors and everything, and it just pops. Beautiful.
Thank you. All right. So earlier you asked me if I painted large. These are, and I was telling you that it did some series. Well, when I did my Making Traces series, I did a large painting about Amerson Park, and then I enjoyed that so much that I decided to do a smaller sub-series to go with it. And so all of these paintings are inspired by Amerson River Park. And you can, look at them and see like the nature elements. I made prints from the foliage there to collage with, and, I used the bend in the river is right there at the park. So that's worked into a lot of the paintings as a design element. Yeah, so these, they're all on 8x8, and they're on cradled wood.
Okay. Yep. So do you have prints of those that are available in case someone might be interested?
No, but that is a good idea. It's a little late for me to, I took pictures of all of them, but most of these sold. So
okay.
I don't have very many of these left.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad they sold. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's from my Making Traces show. You can see if you look at there's a square painting that's got some green in it. So next to Circle Game, that's the larger painting that went with those smaller paintings that you just showed me.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
That one's inspired by Amerson Park. And then the first painting on the left there with the pink and orange and yellow, that excuse me, That one is called Where It All Began, and that one was inspired by like the Big House and Allman Brothers.
You know, I thought of that back where it all began.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that one is a kind collector has that one. So
You got me. I'm going to have to put on some Allman Brothers this afternoon and work on some paintings because I grew up listening to the Allman Brothers. Yeah, I got some stories to tell about that. Oh, man, that might inspire me to do some paintings related to that. Okay.
good.
All right. I think this is the last one. This is actually a snapshot of your website.
Yeah. So
folks, if you go out to her website, you should see this painting. Yeah.
you want me to tell you about that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this painting, it's a 4 foot by 4 foot painting, and this is another one that was inspired by the Neon Boneyard. And this one was inspired by the Stardust sign. And I don't know how familiar you are with old neon signs from Vegas, but if you look at it, there's two design elements that I used in here from that sign. One is the A from the sign turned on its side is that part of that zigzag, and that the little yellow star is like the middle of the A, right? And then the other thing is the Stardust sign at the top, it had these diamond shaped spires, and that's what the diamond shaped part is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just fun. I just really like looking at the signs from that. Yeah, some people might think, does she have this fascination with Las Vegas? No, it's not Las Vegas. It's the signs. They're just
It's
really
the signs,
cool.
folks.
They're
She
so
doesn't
cool.
gamble. She didn't go out there to gamble.
I mean,
She likes
whatever.
national
If somebody wants to go
parks
gamble, they
and
can.
neon signs. Let's
yeah.
set the record straight.
Yeah, so, and I was trying to challenge myself, even though there's a lot of round shapes in here. I seem to have this love for circles, and I end up using them a lot. And I was like, let me try to put some angles in here. So I made an effort, to give myself that creative challenge to try to put some angles in. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Let's get us back up here. Thanks for walking us through and talking about some of those paintings and everything. You're so creative and talented, and I'm impressed how you create so many large paintings. That's a challenge in itself, because I know I do. I got on the easel over there that I'm looking at across the way. It's probably a 3 foot by 4 foot, and that's about as large as I might paint. I mostly do smaller things, 16 by 20, 11 by 14, stuff like that. But I like to do landscapes. And so when I go larger, it's very challenging to make sure I get proportions right and things of that nature. And so it takes me out of my comfort zone when I do something large. So, but you might be comfortable in doing that because you do mostly large paintings. And so you're probably grown accustomed to what the ins and outs are and creating something, 4 foot by 4 foot or 4 by 5 or whatever the case may be. So,
yeah, it's different when you're doing representational work. I think before I went into abstract, the largest representational piece was probably a 30 by 40, and I did that as a gift for someone. Because they needed something that size, but usually I worked like 18 by 24 or 24 by 30 was my usual size. So I can see how working really large in a representational fashion would be difficult. It's hard to really, get back and make sure, like you said, the proportions are right. I don't know how the mural artists do it. So, mural artists,
So do you hang that canvas up on the wall and you're doing everything on a wall, or you got a flat surface that you're doing it on?
So I do both.
Okay.
when I'm putting gesso down on it, and when I'm varnishing it, and when I'm putting collage elements on it, it really needs to be flat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have some folding tables that get up to they're like counter height. They're great folding tables. They're like 24 by 48. I got a couple of them, and I'll usually put the canvas on a couple of those when I need to work flat. But most of the time, like when I'm painting, I do put it up on the wall. And so in my studio, I installed these like wooden strips, and I
Mm-hmm.
put screws in them so I can hang all different sizes of canvases up, and then just work right there on the wall.
Right.
I mean, I've got some easels, but since I work so big, it's easier just to hang it on the wall.
Oh yeah, just hang it on the wall.
That
That
poor
way you
wall.
can step back 6-10 feet, take a look at it, because I have to remind myself to do that. Because lots of times I get painting, and you know how it is as an artist, you get in the zone
Oh
and time
yeah,
flies,
yeah.
and it's like, but I have to step back, take a look at it, take a break, come back and say, yeah, that's looking pretty good, or no, I need to do something about that. I need to get a rag and wipe the oil paint off and start over. Yeah. So, but good. This has been great. I've really enjoyed talking with you and getting to know you a little bit and finding out a little bit more about your artwork and that kind of thing. So you're selling your work. Do you find success on selling your work on your website, through social media? What works best for you?
Um, my favorite way. Well, I've sold it some different ways. I did a lot of online sales back in the early days,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to be honest, the shipping was stressful.
Right.
I got real creative with those boxes, so I could take 4 priority mail boxes and overlap them and fit them around I got really good at doing that, but it
Yeah.
was just really stressful, and it's gotten a lot more expensive to
Oh yeah.
ship. I mean, so usually my sales come from either through the gallery. I've sold some pieces that way. There was a pop-up show that I did last year. I sold some art that way. Actually, 2 pop-up shows. I've had good success with those. One I did at the McEachern. They had a pop-up show, and I sold the painting through there. And then another pop-up show where I was at the Bell House. There was Mercer's music students were doing a performance, and so I sold art there. So usually I prefer to sell it like through a gallery, so
Right.
that it just makes the business end a little bit easier, because like they collect the taxes and I don't have to deal with all that stuff.
They can
But
handle shipping or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
so
with you.
I mean, I guess I could pursue trying to sell on my site, but my focus, I mean, I guess I can't just hang on to all this art forever, but my main focus, fortunately for me, has just been making the art, because it really makes me happy to make the art.
Okay.
And then I've just been really fortunate that actually ended up making my art be much better, and it does sell sometimes. So
Yeah. Yeah. I always try to find out about how artists that are selling their work, what works for them. Are they selling to galleries? Are they selling it through social? Or is it just people come to my house and buy it from me, at my studio
I
or
have had that
whatever?
happen too. I have had
Yeah.
people come to my house and buy the
Yeah.
art as well, and
Yeah.
I've sold to friends, and yeah,
Right.
it's hard. It's an important skill if people want to pursue art as their only, or if they want to make sure they're selling their work. I guess they need to learn the ins and outs of art business, and it's evolved a lot. There's a lot more social media. I think a lot of people sell their art through like Instagram and Facebook.
Oh yeah, Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. I've sold more through Facebook than I did on my website. So, I mean, I still have my website, and I've sold some things, but most come from, repeat customers or clients and collectors, or, through social media. And
Yeah, yeah.
you hit on something too, is I don't think, and I've talked to different artists, I'm not sure that they really teach the business aspect of art in school, you know, and that's something I think colleges and universities need to focus on, because you have to spend some time on marketing yourself and putting yourself out there, because a lot of
Mhm.
artists are introverted and it's
Yes.
hard to put yourself out there, to talk to people at a gallery and network with people and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it can be challenging. It's one thing to create the art, but it's another thing is I've got to market it and I've got to learn how to do that and
Mhm.
devote time to it. Yeah.
And different things work for different
Yeah,
artists,
exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I talked to an artist the other day and they said, I've tried the gallery thing, but I do a lot of sales right out of my home, you know. People ask, "Well, how do you sell your art?" "Out of my studio." Hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
works, works best for them. Cool. Well, I've got some, rapid fire questions for you.
Uh-oh. I have some rapid
No,
fire
no,
answers for you.
okay. Not so well, just a few. Just they're not really art related. In a way they are. All right. Here's the first one. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Hey, me too. I got on my blue shirt today.
That was easy.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite holiday and why?
Um, I think I'm going to say Thanksgiving because I always go to my mom's house for
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, and my kids come, and my husband. Yeah, so I'm going to say Thanksgiving, and that's why,
Okay.
because we all get to be together.
Yeah, that's good. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh gosh, it used to be. I used to immediately say invisibility. I don't know what that says about me, but um, that introverted thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
Um, oh, a superpower. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I'll just stick with that one.
Okay. Okay. I'd like time travel,
Oh, that would be cool.
you know.
Yeah, that would be very cool. See, can I
Yeah.
change my answer?
Go back in time or go forward. Yeah, it'd be kind of neat. All right, the last one. Describe your ideal dream studio.
Oh,
What
I've
would
been
you
thinking
have?
about this one. I do think about this one. More space
Uh-huh.
because my current studio is like used to be my son's bedroom, so it's
Right.
like I don't know, 11 by 14 or something.
Right.
I'd love to have a lot more space,
About
like
twice that, 3
like
times.
bonus room size with a
Yeah.
sink inside the room.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good. Uh-oh. The outside alarm's going off. I don't know what's
Uh-oh.
going on. The house is not on fire though. Thank
Okay, I
God.
was about to say you gotta evacuate.
Yeah, so more space and a sink in the room and some skylights or some natural light might be nice or better lighting. I can never get enough light, I feel like.
Yeah.
I do have some pretty good organization, from IKEA. I got a bunch of shelves and design drawers and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, and plenty of space to play with. That would be nice.
Yeah. I would like enough space to have little workstations that I don't have to just pull something out and do
And
it
put
over
it.
here and then move that and then get something else out.
Mhm.
I could just go to different workstations.
Yeah, I guess
Like
with oil painting, you really have a bunch in progress, don't you? Because you have to
I
wait for them to
do.
dry. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got 3 easels up here now, and I've got, like, 2 tabletop easels, and then behind me over here, I've got a rack, but then I've got some other racks where I put paintings that are drying or that are in process, and I could have 4 or 5 going at the same time. So, that's the ADD kicking in.
I think a
So,
lot of us have that.
yeah,
Creative
yeah,
types.
yeah. It's good. It's all good. Yeah. Well, Kris, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been wonderful. Folks, I'm going to include in the show notes contact information for Kris. So if you want to reach out to her, check her out on social media, email her, find out more about what's going on, when she's got some shows coming up, that kind of thing. And Kris, I want to follow up with you later on when you complete some of your series. Let's get back together several months down the road. and say, hey, what's going on? Where are you at? Got new work to share, that kind of thing. But anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in today, and please like and subscribe to the channel, and share this with your friends and fellow artists and associates and everything. Just help the channel grow. And Kris, take care. And everybody, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye now. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. We really appreciate our audience and would love to hear about other artist stories you'd like for us to share. Please email us or leave a comment. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and like and subscribe. Keep painting, everyone.